Welcome to Two Hypnotherapists Talking with me, Denise Mejia, in Delaware, USA.
And me, Martin Ferber, in Preston, UK.
This weekly podcast is for anyone and everyone who'd like to know more about the fascinating subject of hypnosis and the benefits it offers.
I'm a clinical hypnotherapist and psychotherapist.
I'm a retired medical doctor turned consulting hypnotist.
We are Two Hypnotherapists Talking.
So let's get on with the episode.
Yeah, and let's get on with the show indeed. Denise, introduce our guest this week.
Well, I can't. I can read her name as Beverley Densham, and I know her sister's Julie, but I don't know very much about Beverley. So let's make her introduce herself, shall we? Bev, what would you like to talk to us about today? I know you're not a hypnotist. We've had a couple of people on who aren't, and we're absolutely fine with that because everything's all holistic, right? How do you help people?
I love to help people with their bodies, their minds. I'm a Mindfulness-Pilates teacher of over 25 years now, an author. And yeah, I originally started the teaching journey through my own personal pain. I had back pain and I was in Australia and I'd been to a sports injuries clinic, and I found I was introduced to Pilates. I'd never heard of it, a form of exercise. And I realised it helped very much. And after a quite a severe road traffic accident, I was like, what on earth am I going to do for a living? And I'd done this sports science degree. I was fascinated by psychology and mindset and how the mind can help the body, but also and how exercise can help the body and the mind. So I ended up having in-person studios in Hertfordshire for 16 years. Then I set a goal to move to Dorset by the sea, which is my happy place. And I now have a Zoom studio teaching mindfulness Pilates with either one-to-one, or I teach small beginner groups of up to 5 people at a time, or maximum 10 in my classes.
Has that replaced your teaching in the physical world? Have you just morphed into just doing Zoom?
99%. Today I have been 90% on Zoom, and I have been sort of a little bit at the studio down the road in person, but 99% of my work now, because I discovered it's because of the pandemic, but then because it works and because clients are benefiting just as much, and I can see what they're doing as long as their camera is set up properly on their laptop and like the screen is set at the right
exactly
angle.
Like hypnosis, but now people are so much more comfortable in the online world.
Yeah, and I think as long as that you know you're teaching it properly, you can see what they're doing, you can correct their alignment, make sure in the correct position. Yes, demonstrate each exercise, then sit up, talk the client or clients through. And it's great because you can see them side on if they're lying on their back. You can see a little bit of the floor, you can see their mat, you can see their position. And then I think half of them feel like they're having a one-to-one because I'm still talking to everybody, still looking after everybody, making sure it's done properly. I realized in my early days, I put my hands on my clients so much, moving their feet and, but actually you have to obviously verbally cue the corrections to make sure it's done properly. But they've got, in a way it's better because it means you're empowering them how to practice on their own better. And I am encouraging them, to incorporate it into their lifestyle. Practice a little 6 minutes of, Pilates exercise in the morning before breakfast or first thing. And of course, they're going to then do it better on their own because they're moving themselves into the position, or the video on Zoom is like a mirror. And then they can if they're like this, one shoulder up, one down, and they're supposed to be lifting evenly, they can actually also look with their eyes, like having a big mirror there. So it's actually quite useful. If it didn't work, I wouldn't do it, but because they are getting the same benefit, and they can be anywhere in the world now, all over the UK.
That's the other lovely part.
And it means my mum can come as well, and my sister Julie, who's been a guest on your podcast. And how lovely is that? And they live over 100 miles away.
Yeah. I have a friend I'm going to be sending this episode to who moved to Costa Rica about 1.5 years ago and has recently qualified as a Pilates instructor. She's opening her own studio. So I will be pointing this out to her too.
There you go.
I would say, Denise, as well, this is where I first came across Bev on LinkedIn with her online Pilates. And of course, we're all used to seeing a Zoom room like this where we're talking face to face. but you can see Bev's clients in rows there on their Pilates mats on the floor, all doing the online Pilates. It's fantastic. Really inspirational stuff.
So how did it was the pain that you had whilst you were after the accident that took you into Pilates for yourself?
Yeah, initially for myself. Initially it was the initial thing was having back pain in Australia, and that's when I initially got into the Pilates, and that was in Bondi Beach in Sydney, and it really helped. But then when I was working in Darwin in northern Queensland, I was involved in this very severe sort of road traffic accident when I was cycling to work one morning, and a car hit me when I was cycling to work, and thankfully I was wearing a helmet because my helmet did smash the windscreen. The second impact was my wrist shattered on the bonnet of the car, and I had to have an operation here to plate and screw the wrist, and then my back landed on the road. But I said to Martin before, it wasn't just a physical rehabilitation. Of course, I saw the surgeon, I saw the physiotherapist once I was back in the UK, but it was also a mental rehabilitation, things that I'd never experienced before.
Were you
post-traumatic
frightened?
stress.
Exactly. Were you frightened of those situations? Like, if I cross a road, I'll get hit by something.
Yes, certain things would trigger me into a panic attack and reliving and just constantly, until I had the right therapy, reliving the experience and that high anxiety, and ended up with depression and very, very severe chronic fatigue, actually. And so I went on a whole sort of a road to recovery. So I obviously saw the right, medical professionals, and I did see a psychologist actually, and did the cognitive behavioral therapy. For me, it was another form of therapy which really helped me heal from that point of view, which is really helpful. And then the Pilates, I was like, I'm so glad I found it, because it gave me something to do. It gave me something, it gave me something positive to focus on. And I even did I loved it so much, and it helped me so much, body and mind, and in that mental healing as well. I remember training as a teacher over 25, quite a bit over 25 years ago now, actually with the splint still on my wrist and not being able to use that left part of my body, but they were quite happy to have me, and I was so happy to train, and that's what inspired. I was like, wow, this, because it had helped me so much with all my aches and pains and recovery. I was like, I really would like to help other people with this, and I opened my studio straight away. Actually, I was lucky. I found somewhere that had a car park amazingly at the back of a leisure centre, and I was able to start with just a few clients and a few classes, and it actually built up to me having a team of like 5 teachers and a full-time admin, and then I had a second studio, a big studio and a little studio. I mean, sort of maximum sort of 9 clients and maximum 4, so 1, 2 or 3 or 4 clients. And it was just I helped hundreds of clients a week actually there, and it did do well. It was successful, and then I moved here and started all over again.
What prompted the move?
Okay, well,
sorry, if it's bad, you don't.
No, it is.
You
bad,
can make something up. We won't know.
No, it is bad, but I'm happy to share it.
Are you sure? Because I can cut it out if you want. We can just ask a different question.
I did experience a traumatic divorce of emotional and psychological abuse, and I did end up calling police and social services, who took me and my 3-year-old son away at the time, actually. And it took a lot of healing, and I set a goal. I was like, actually, where do I want to live for the rest of my life, as I became more and more healed? And I still managed to run the studios, which I think is a miracle. But 4 years later, I'd made this goal, and 4 years later I achieved it. The sea is really my happy place, and I was like, actually, for the second half of my physical life here, I think I'd like to live by the sea. And I'm still really, really close to my sister Julie and my mum and dad and family, but we just have to pop backwards and forwards, or we see each other on Zoom many times a week, and then we go to. So So I started all over again, and I really did start all over again, because
you started all over again, but now you've got this huge fund of knowledge.
Oh yeah, it's amazing.
You know that you can be
exactly,
successful.
Denise.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you know? Yeah, a couple of my friends have said that to me recently. Like, I've done it before, and I can do it again. And it's just educating. It's a bit like with your. By the way, I'm such a fan of the work that you both do, because I've seen it transform somebody very close to me who had, horrendous mental health, and 4 sessions turned their life around from being on a waiting list with the NHS, and they went privately to see somebody like yourselves, and 4 sessions, and the turnaround has been incredible. So, and it's about educating people, isn't it, in your work and in my work, that and seeing evidence of it, of course, that you're getting those same benefits and results for the client.
It is, isn't it? It's preconceptions, though, some of it. I mean, there are lots of preconceptions about hypnosis. It's swinging watches, or
unfortunately fueled by the movies and TV. But understandably, for entertainment services.
But then mindfulness, for example, my first impressions of it were that you could sit there for 25 minutes staring at a blueberry, and getting in the moment, sort of thing. And then when somebody explained it to me fully, and then I did my own research on it, it's like, yeah, I get it. I absolutely get it. And I can absolutely see the benefits of it as well. One of the first questions I asked at Hypno College back in the day was, what's the difference between hypnotherapy and mindfulness? And my tutor gave me a really good, simple explanation, saying mindfulness is where we are getting ourselves into the moment in our own headspace and trance, whereas with hypnotherapy, we are being guided into a trance. And I thought that was a really simple and accurate explanation. What do you think, Bev?
That's really interesting. I mean, I ended up calling it Mindfulness-Pilates. I mean, I think so many things can just be mindful anyway. I mean, to me, Pilates exercise is mindful anyway, because there are 8 principles of Pilates, and it's about being in the moment with each. You've got breathing, the 8 principles of breathing, relaxation, centering, which is your core stability, working your deep abdominals and having that back support, alignment and being in a good posture and alignment and position during each, whether it's strength exercise, core stability exercise, back strengthening exercise, stretch, whatever you happen to be doing, whether that's sitting, standing, lying down.
When you have a client who has a particular...
Sorry.
Go ahead, sorry.
The last one, sorry, because I've started describing it, because I have it like...
Are you seeing it in your head? It's okay. Yeah, carry on.
So relaxation, breathing, centering, alignment, and then you've got concentration, coordination, flowing movements, and stamina. And basically, the more Pilates you do, the more stamina you get. And when you keep learning, you keep improving in each of those areas.
So sorry, my interruption was to ask you, how do you deal with people who may have a particular challenge when it comes to the posture or whatever? Obviously, when you had a broken wrist, you had some challenges, but there are people who have balance issues or have had neurological damage of some kind. Do you need to see them as individual clients? Is it just too customized to be in a big group, or do you see only people who've had stroke victims in this particular class?
Okay, so it really depends. I mean, I do work at a physiotherapy clinic as well down the road with neurological things. One of my close local friends is a physiotherapist and a Pilates teacher, and I actually shadowed her for about 6 weeks in her classes, actually, because she wanted me to take over her Parkinson's class. This was pre-pandemic. Her Parkinson's class and her back pain, one of her back pain class. So I shadowed her for 6 weeks. The back pain stuff is very everyday for me, and I'm very, very good at helping people with that. Usually needs to be one-to-one to start with, because there's so many levels within where phases of the rehabilitation kind of thing, and I work them closely alongside a physio, osteopath, chiropractor. When it comes to some neurological things are not my zone of genius. So I have, for example, taught somebody with MS. However, I worked very closely with the physiotherapist. I taught them in person. Their wife came along as well. just to know, you know, what they're doing, and slightly join in and be a support there, and
Right.
so that they knew, you know, could support during practicing at home and things like that. With Parkinson's, I think it's very important, something like that. I'm very good at teaching that, but that isn't for me, that is an in-person thing in the initial stages. No, it can be group, but one-on-one initially. Then it can be in a group, but there needs to be the support of things like chairs for doing sitting work, or when they can do standing work and some balance work, but with chair support. So one of those clients from that class does work with me regularly on Zoom, but that's because I know them so well. They've really retained over the last few years, they've retained their level of fitness. It hasn't declined, but they still use the chair for support, do some sitting. They might prefer to do the relaxation lying on their side. They don't use hardly any equipment, because or I teach things like 1 minute journaling in some of the classes, but in my elderly class, because I do have a class for elderly and all ages. Everybody is welcome in this class, but I don't actually call it that. But it is all ages and several elderly, including the gentleman with Parkinson. And it works so well. You know, some of it, like my dad, who's had a hip replacement in there, but I helped him in the 2 weeks post recovery from the hip replacement. And this is not neurological, you know, it's a hip replacement, not neurological. So what I'm trying to say is it really depends. And then I taught him one-to-one until he was back playing golf. He's 85 years old. And then he got promotion to class when he was ready, you know. So it goes through stages. Somebody else had bursitis in the hip. We work one-to-one, arthritis. But she had balance problems as well. So different things can bring on balance problems. And her balance problems were a lot of weakness actually in the muscles, and she needed what I find a lot of clients need is they need the standing kind of post hip replacement physio type basic Pilates, and then they can progress from there.
So you said no, it does. You said that you work closely with a physical therapist. Do you physiotherapist? Yes. Do you co-develop programs, or you just sort of see where it might fit in
here? Sorry, I missed the question.
Did I freeze?
Yeah, got cut off. Sorry.
No, my question was, do you co-develop a program with a physiotherapist, or do you work with them? You just sort of fit into what they've already got going.
It depends. I feel I just fit in. So what happens is somebody's seeing, for example, a physio. They might have seen their doctor, maybe had an MRI scan, seen a consultant. I've got the results of that. They're then seeing the physiotherapist, for example. I then know exactly what exercises they'd be given, and I either work closely alongside, or I can just work alongside, knowing exactly where it's being pitched at from a physiotherapy point of view, and then we can progress from there. And that works really well. And then they get their next exercises, and it's like a natural teaching, working really in a really good synchronicity. Actually, it works so well, actually.
So what's your catchment area? Do you have people from all over come? Obviously Zoom, it's the world. but in the area you work, how big a draw do you have for people to come to you one-on-one in person?
In the olden days, people would travel as far as London to see me in Hertfordshire. Now it's
sorry, I am English, but it's a long time since I lived there. And I don't know how many hours of travel that is.
So that's not hours of travel. So that would be like half an hour to an hour travel. Here, I just teach. I teach in Dorset by the sea for in-person work. But most people, apart from the neurological side of things, most people want to work with me on Zoom. They find it convenient, time efficient, fits in their day. No travel.
Don't have to worry about the weather.
No excuses with the weather, and come along and just get on with it and then get on with their day. So, you know, but yeah, in relation to, people come from the Poole and Dorset area to see me, and then, but mostly, as I said, Zoom.
But I love
Yeah.
some of this stress to calm stuff you've done with lawyers over the months that I've been following on LinkedIn, and it's sort of like de-stress them in their lunch break or even in their afternoon break. It's fabulous stuff.
So how did you acquire a sort of lawyer following? Did you happen to just have attorneys working with you in Pilates, or?
No, what happened was I love doing business networking on Zoom, and this lovely lawyer had been in my group for at least 2 years. I had no idea that suddenly out of the blue she said, Bev, she just spoke to me privately and said, I'd really like you to help me with my stress levels. And I said, yes, of course, I'll help you with your stress levels. And so I taught her mindfulness Pilates, but her secondary pain, as well as the high levels of stress, was low back pain, sciatica, and some low back prolapse discs. But she only actually needed like 3 sessions with me with the stress to calm to really reduce her stress and feel much better. And then it was about maintenance. And what I realized when I was teaching her is I could actually take the mats, the tracksuit bottoms, leggings, and most of the Pilates out of it. And I could teach a lot of the other tools I teach within Pilates at the desk practically, and for teams and not just individuals. So I said, so would you like me to help your team as well? She's a partner in her name's Anna. She's a partner in a law firm called Rowbury Morris in Hampshire. She's actually going to write the foreword to our book.
Oh, that's lovely.
I'm really proud of that, because it's like I've worked with them for 6 months, the whole team, and it was amazing. So I started teaching 1-minute tools, 7 1-minute tools, lots of different versions of them. You can't just do the same thing all the time, obviously. Right. But and it worked. And I was like, wow, this is really working and helping them so much. Not just her. She just then needs, like brushing your teeth. You've got to keep brushing your teeth to keep your teeth clean. You've got to keep doing your Pilates to stretch out and breathe and de-stress and keep your body strong and your posture okay and not slumping like a banana. And it's the same with the stress to calm tools. I sort of just pieced them into 1 minute, often setting a timer, and they can do it as 1-minute individual tools, or they could do it as a workshop or regular classes like they did with me. And it sort of went from there, really, teaching, meditation, how to use positive affirmation, stretching for the head, neck and shoulders at the desk, power stretching with the, high power pose positions. I created tools like Calm to Happy, which have got multiple facets of benefits with it. 1-minute journaling, which I love the fact that quite a few doctors seem to be recommending it as well these days.
Probably using it themselves.
Yes, like Dr. Rangan Chatterjee. I love hearing this. And goal setting visualization. So I listened to your episode, of course, on visualization and everything. And in my sports science, that was quite a big thing in psychology, sports psychology, visualization, particularly for athletes. But I was like, well, actually, we'll use this. I might use it as well in injury rehabilitation with clients as well, who might have had a broken leg, and I help them, at least they can still come to class but not use that bit of their body and visualize what they're doing. But I do that at the desk with the lawyers or corporate, where they visualize a personal goal, take them into that relaxed state and visualize a personal goal, and it helps them with their work-life balance, because a lot of people are very good at doing their work.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much hypnosis.
Yes, I was just really going to say,
therapeutic imagination is what it is.
Take them into a state of relaxation and mentally rehearse. That's hypnosis. And this is what we were saying about other therapies, how they interlink, how the commonality that's there, and the same sort of end goal that we all have, which is to get our clients where they want to be. In a holistic way.
And I think, exactly. I think what you're doing, that deep therapeutic work, and often, it might be quite a big mental health problem that you're helping with. Whereas I suppose I'm helping at the in-between stage. It can be prevention, I think, but it's that sort of daily. I'd love to. I'm excited to teach it more. I have taught quite a few lawyers and law firms over the last year, and the statistics, I'm so glad. I hated the statistics at university. However, I was like, this is very interesting, and a bit like you getting your EEG machine, Martin. I actually now love statistics, because I thought this is really interesting. And what I'd do, I'd score some of each person's sort of stress score before and after each session, and then I'd do the statistics on it. And over the last year, apart from if someone's been on holiday, that sort of thing, the stress level might not change in that session, but overall it's been a 40 to 75% reduction in stress on using those 7 1-minute tools that I've used with them in that one session.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
It's funny you're talking about the EEG machine, because
oh yeah, how's it going? Have you has it arrived yet?
The cat's out of the bag. I can make an official announcement now. I'm going to be teaching hypnotherapy next year. Yeah, and the school, the college I'm working for, they're the ones who are introducing the EEG machine into their teaching program, so people can actually see their depth of trance. Because it's one thing explaining it to people, and of course, as we say about misconceptions, pseudoscience, this, that, and the other, people can actually see with this imaging equipment what happens to their brainwaves when they're in hypnotic trance, as opposed to when they're just relaxing, because there's a difference. But yes, I'm going to be teaching hypnotherapy next year.
Fantastic. I'm very excited for that.
Yeah, I am too.
Yeah, that's really, really good. And all your mental health first aid work as well. It's also
I'm on another course.
Important.
I'm on another 2-week training next week, so I can deliver their entire portfolio. So that's another 2 weeks when I will just be blinkers on and head down concentrating.
Okay, we'll get ahead and record some stuff before you go into hibernation. I think is very interesting is that everybody carries their stress in a different place. Mine is between my shoulder blades, and I will notice the pain before I realize I'm stressed. I'm not sure if that's teaching me, but everybody has it. Some people get headaches. Some people have lower back pain. Some, oh, you're a headache person. Yeah. Do you work much with like headache clinics or any of that?
I haven't, but I am very interested in it, because after childbirth, I nearly died then, actually. Well, I won't tell you too many more sad stories, but I had a preeclamptic fit, and
so did I.
Oh my God,
that thing of commonality. First child, 5 hours after delivery. Sorry, Martin. You'll never be able to share this with us.
It's okay. I'll talk about testicular trauma instead.
Well, it's important we talk about these things, though, isn't it? Because
absolutely.
Like looking at all of us today, you wouldn't.
Was yours postpartum? That's really important.
Mine was at the very end of childbirth, actually.
Oh. But the baby was fine.
Well, we went into special care, and I was in intensive. I was in intensive care. Yeah. But the headaches and the difficulty with light after that, they were wondering if there was any brain damage in any way, because anyway, I had the brain scan, that was okay. But having suffered from those headaches and then a period of migraines as well, what was very interesting, what I experiment on myself sometimes, like sometimes I've managed to heal a migraine myself within about a minute, purely because of doing some head and neck stretches, which are more the physiotherapy type, sort of neck stretches, eyes closed in the dark, sitting on a bed, and doing all the very basic good posture and neck stretches. And sometimes that took it away, and other times I'd have to have a sleep as well. So I sort of have a personal interest in it. I haven't actually worked with any particular clinics or anything like you said, but I have noticed that there seems to be, from my observation, a big correlation between posture, muscle tension, and not doing enough head, neck, shoulder stretching, because sometimes that can alleviate it without needing a painkiller, because that's all that's needed, that people are just stuck in one position so long. They just actually need to move more, walk more, get out in the fresh air. Like
I think we've got the title for your 4th book. You can
what's that
work
then?
on that.
Move.
Mindfulness for headaches. I think that it's just very exciting. I'm really interested in talking to my friend Amy, who's now is a newly minted instructor. She's practiced Pilates for a long time. I don't know if she's got a particular niche that she's working with, or just anybody who wants to go down to Costa Rica and have a lovely time.
Ooh, that sounds fun.
Yes.
Yeah. Exactly. It's funny, I did all the training and absolutely everything, and I had all the big equipment. I had 11 reformers, 4 rehab reformers at one point, with all the springs and pulleys and Cadillac and you name it. I had everything. And it's funny, I've now gone back to basics, back to mat work, back to something that people can practically use in their everyday life, and then adding in being able to create a book, as well, like the Stress to Calm in 7 minutes for lawyers and teachers and nurses. That it's lovely that people can grab that and have a go and make a difference themselves in that way as well. It's quite nice.
Yeah, just knowing that they'll be able to do something about it is a huge help.
Well, you were just talking about then with carrying stress and headaches. You're too young to remember it, Bev, but Denise will, and I do, and Denise was still in this country at the time, so you will as well, Denise. The Anodyne adverts, tense nervous headache. It said it starts at the back of the neck. You remember it?
Yeah, it's Anna's sin here. I don't think you don't see it anymore, but I do remember those ads. Yes. Yeah,
just it's funny, isn't it? We talk about these little triggers and neural pathways and things going back. I immediately visualized that Anodyne advert with the tense nervous headache.
No, I don't know that one, but
no, you're too young.
It's because we're old.
I was teaching Pilates today, and some of the clients turned up so stressed. And actually, we did a relaxation at the beginning, a tense and release relaxation. Whereas other times I might teach a body scan meditation. But I think one of the best times to practice that is like at the dentist, because you might really tense up a bit of your body, and then you just release that bit of your body, and it sort of trains you to not be, so tense.
Again, we do the same thing in hypnosis with the progressive muscle relaxation.
Yeah, that
you get somebody to really clench the fists and then let go and feel that relaxation going up your arm, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I taught that one this morning to these very stressed clients on arrival. Yeah.
No, but it's great. It works, and this is why we wanted to get different guests on the show, because the commonality is there across all the holistic type of things, and that's really good. No, really, really good. Bev, we're almost at the end of the show, believe it or not. So what I'm going to ask you is there anything you'd like to tell our viewers and listeners about mindfulness that they may not know? Okay, if they have any misconceptions or anything like that, is there anything you'd like to tell them?
Yeah, I mean, I had somebody ask me this the other day in one of my business networking, and he's like, he's saying, how much mindfulness is in it? And I said, well, you're a golfer. I would also call golf being very mindful, because you've got to concentrate, and you're aiming to hit that ball towards that hole or whatever. So that is also mindfulness. He's like, oh, right. So I think you can be playing tennis, you can be playing badminton, golf, squash, you can go on a mindful walk, but I think everyday life for everyone has mindfulness in it, but whether you like the word or not is another matter, because I find some people don't like the word,
but that's because of the prejudice from the woo-woo side of things.
Okay, well, it's just being in the moment. Of course there are in-depth ways of teaching that, but I would say if a practitioner or like yourselves resonates, and it's by the way, hypnotherapy is wonderful. Book in if you know anyone with a mental health problem, please. Don't wait on a waiting list, just book in with them, please. That's what I would like to say very strongly today.
Thank you.
I think it can just and I think or you like somebody's teaching style, you like their personality, they've got the qualifications, the experience. Bonus if somebody has a personal experience, like Martin has that personal experience of recovery from both a traumatic past work situation and from a weight loss situation. I mean, that person then becomes a role model as well. And then obviously Denise, you've got that your doctor's background as well. And I think it's just whatever resonates from I think you can tailor it to each client as well. So that particular golfer, I know he wants to book in. He's had back problems on and off and on and off. And eventually he'll book in when he realizes he doesn't have to do 1 minute journaling and a 10-minute meditation. And that is absolutely fine. You know, I think you tailor it to each person that comes along. I think but of course you've got each person's got their own style as well. And I think mindfulness, you know, and mindfulness Pilates, or as you say, the mindfulness in what you do, is just incredibly valuable.
Well, it is, and it's important to, you know, get rid of these misconceptions people have by explaining it clearly, as you've just done. It's the same with hypnosis. As soon as you explain to somebody they actually go into hypnosis several times a day naturally, and you give them examples of it, then they click, they realize, yeah, okay, yeah, they get it, as it were.
Exactly. It's like you were saying in one of your other episodes on your podcast, you were talking about visualization, and you were saying, oh, people can't visualize. And then you're saying, well, what color's your front door? What's the number on your door? And you're like, oh, is that all that visualization is? And it's the same when I do it with people, and they're like, okay, I can do
that's it. That's it. You've got to make it relatable, and then people realize, oh yeah, I can be mindful. I do go into hypnosis. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
When there's a bit of, I think also I find a lot of people I work with appreciates a bit of science and research behind things, and that's what we're doing with our books as well. There's science and some research behind every single tool. But one of my favorite studies I heard from Dr. David Hamilton was called the piano study, and I find it quite fascinating. So half of the participants in the study had to play the piano. I think it's for about 2 hours. They played, you know, certain notes. Or physically on the piano, and the other half of the participants had to mentally and visualize playing those notes on the piano. And then the brain scans afterwards, they couldn't tell who had physically played the piano and who hadn't. And I think when you bring these other research, I think a lot of people find that very motivating. Like, wow, so if I do that and that, what a difference. Creating action and working in the mind is so powerful. So thank you. Yeah, thank you for that.
That's right. Yeah, there's increasing evidence out there all the time on these things, which is great. Bev, we're almost at the end of the show, so I'd like to thank you for coming on. We're going to put in the show notes how people can get in touch with you, and the title of your upcoming book as well. But Denise, I'm going to leave the final words to you.
I'm going to be in touch with you. I think there's some collaborative work we may be able to do. So it was really nice meeting you. It was a pleasure to meet your sister, and it's a pleasure to meet you. And next time I'm in Britain, I will come down to Poole area, because I used to spend my Sundays there quite often as a child.
We hope you've enjoyed listening. Please remember, this podcast is designed to give you an insight into therapeutic hypnosis and is for educational purposes only. So remember, consult with your own healthcare professional if you think something you've heard may apply to you or a loved one.
If you found this episode useful, you can apply for free continuing professional development or CME credits using the link provided in the show notes. Feel free to contact either of us through the links in the show notes. Join us again next week.